Hello, OT friends, and welcome to the Uncommon OT series. My name is Patricia Modis. I'm the Transitions OT, and I'm your host. I'm very excited to introduce you to today's guest of honor, Dr. Arnel Calvario. Dr. Calvario is an uncommon occupational therapist who works in the community. And he combines his skills as a hip-hop dancer and as an occupational therapist to provide community outreach. Believing in using his talents and resources to promote community outreach and respect for all people, artistic expression, and education, Dr. Arnel Calvario has dedicated himself to the dance community since his college days. In 1992, he founded UC Irvine's own Kaba Modern. He currently serves as the board president of Culture Shock International and is an active member of the Kinjaz. He managed Kaba Modern, Fanny Pak, and Beat Freaks in Kinjaz during their runs on MTV's hit show, America's Best Dance Crew. Arnel also helped manage Kinjaz during their 2017 run on NBC's World of Dance. He also launched his dance therapy program for neurodivergent children in April 2014 in collaboration with Culture Shock LA and the DEA. Arnel has been a guest lecturer at UC Irvine, USC, Grossmont College, State Fullerton, UCLA, Cornell University, and Princeton University. He also continues to teach his Roots Before Branches dance workshop and his international virtual program, Leadership Tools for the Dance Leader. Judge dance competitions, speak on discussion panels, and participate in program development and leadership mentorship internationally. He is also the United States judge for the annual Hip Hop International Dance Championships and is the co-coordinator for the annual HHI World Battles. He does all of this while continuing to work as a full-time Doctor of Occupational Therapy for Long Beach Unified School District related services. So without further ado, I would like to present to you Dr. Arnel Calvario. Hi, Arnel. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here. And I love what you're doing with sharing stories of just, very innovative, out of the box, practitioners from all over. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's an honor to have you too. And really to explore dance with you and how you're bridging that passion with occupational therapy and offering the services and the community outreach that you're providing out there. So I look forward to hearing more about that. But before diving in, let's hear a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So I'm the child of immigrant parents. So my mom is from Aklan, which we have in common.
I know. We have to tell our listeners about that another day.
Yeah, so she's from a city in the Philippines called Aklan, and my dad is from Quezon Province, and they immigrated here and met here in California. So I grew up in Harbor City, which is really near Torrance, like the South Bay area. And I always grew up around dance and art around me. So I grew up learning all of the Filipino heritage, cultural dances from the Aklans from my mom's side. And I also grew up during like the golden age of hip hop. So when locking and popping and breaking, those art forms were in the parks, in the streets, at the family parties. And, you learned it not at a studio, but from people in the community. That was my childhood. So learning dance, cultural dancing and, hip hop, street and clubs, dance art forms. So dance was always like a really big part of my life, but so was my dream to be a health professional because there's a long legacy of health professionals on my mom's side. And so I grew up with a lot of inspiration from uncles and aunts who are all different kinds of health professionals. And so I knew that just hearing a lot about their experiences, serving patients and their families. I kind of really admired that even as a little child. And so yeah, that's kind of how all of those influences kind of mixed together, kind of shaped the career that I choose for myself today. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing some of that. It sounds like you were born with this in your genes.
Definitely, all of it, dance and caregiving, right?
Yeah. And again, I always love it when people are able to bridge their passion. So I'm going to delve into that a little bit. But before we do, I just want to share with our listeners that, in meeting Arnel, we actually discovered that not only are we both Filipino, right? Coming from the same country, but our families are also from the same town of the Philippines. And not only that, but my aunt and his mom were college roommates. So this, you couldn't get any more Filipino in connections in that way.
Yes.
Very culturally typical to kind of know everybody. But that just makes me even extra excited to have you on the show, to have that connection, because you're like family, really.
Yes. I love it.
Yes. And, not only do we have those in common, but we're also both OTs of around the same generation. And we're also both exploring uncommon OT things. So us connecting has just been such a blessing. So let's dive in. Let's dive into your work. Right? Tell us a little bit more about your uncommon OT work. Or maybe you can start a little bit with your typical work, right?
My 9 to 5. Yeah. So my first job was actually on the rehab unit at Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, because I started working there as a PT OT aide, originally pursuing physical therapy because I just was unaware about what occupational therapy was. But obviously from being an aide there, I found I was inspired by my OT mentor who, basically really inspired me and opened my eyes to the power and beauty of occupational therapy. And so I went to OT school at USC, and I wanted my first job to be back at Children's Hospital LA on the rehab unit, but now as an OT. So what was really amazing was there was a position that opened up a little bit earlier before my graduation, but they held the position until I graduated.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah. So my first job was that exact position that I wanted. But at the same time, USC just opened their OTD program exactly when I graduated. So that was pretty crazy that my first year working as an OT, I was also a full-time OTD student at the same time.
Yes.
That was pretty nuts. But I love my years on the rehab unit. I always feel like the hospital setting is really good for those foundational skills.
Yes.
And, dealing with very high-risk situations, whether it's in the NICU or it's someone newly from acute to rehab that are still, navigating a lot of medical complications,
yes.
and all the diversity of diagnosis that you work with, right? And the teamwork, right?
Yes.
The fact that you get to team with nurses, doctors, and all these other specialists, speech therapists, physical therapists. It was a really amazing first job, but after 27 funerals, because we also deal with kids, oncology kids, right?
Yes.
Or with tumor resections and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I think I realized that my heart was a little bit too tender for that lifestyle, because I would, as much as I leave work at home, you bond, especially on rehab, with these families and these kids. And I knew that long term, it wouldn't be good for my mental health. Mm-hmm. So my mentor actually went to Long Beach Unified a year before I did, and because for the same reason. And so I followed her a year later, and I've been with Long Beach Unified School District, for the last 14 years now.
Wow. Congratulations on that post.
Yeah.
And also on, learning about what's the kind of environment that, that works best for you, right? I think that's another beauty of our profession, is that there's so many settings where we can work, right? So if you're in a setting that doesn't feel right for you, or you just like yourself, it wasn't good for your mental health, and there's other options.
Yes. And I know and I think about like, sometimes it's so hard to leave when everything mostly is amazing. Like,
yes.
I was so proud of the work I did at Children's. I was so proud and inspired by so many of my coworkers. I absolutely love that hospital, but yes, we kind of have to practice what we preach, in the sense that we also, one of our occupations being work, our employment also needs to be healthy for us,
Yes.
So when I went to Long Beach Unified, it was exactly what my life needed to have more of a healthy balance as far as acknowledging the dancer side of me. Because at Children's Hospital, I was on 4 10-hour shifts, which was great. I only worked Monday through Thursday, and I had long weekends every weekend.
Sounds like a nurse's schedule.
Yeah, it was amazing. But as we know, you only get 4 out of the 6 holidays, and you have to rotate weekends, and so that's not always conducive to someone who also wants to be a dance educator and build things in the community, and who is very, very active in not only the local dance world but the global.
Yes.
So going to the school district afforded me summers off, 2 weeks off for winter break, a week off for spring break, a week off for Thanksgiving, and all federal holidays, off.
Yes.
And so it was destiny that this was not only the work that kept me in a healthy space to be able to continue to serve children and their families. It also allowed me to take a lot of the things that I was passionate about and really transform those into what I call purpose projects. Because I think passion projects are what you do when you're younger. Right?
That's what I call them. I'm going to switch them now.
You're like
definitely not
passionate about something, and you're just going to like throw all your energy into something, because whether it works or not, you're going to learn something, right?
Yes.
But purpose projects, I think as we evolve and grow more into our skin and pay a lot of attention to our purpose, I think our purpose projects are projects that we choose that are aligned with our extraordinary purpose in this world.
Yes.
Right?
I'm going to steal that. I'm just going to let you know right now. I love it so much. And I completely see the difference in the two. Yes. And I think my projects are more purposefully driven than passionately driven.
Yes.
Oh, but I love that explanation. And that also puts into perspective this work that you're doing, and how it makes sense that, this many years into your OT career, you've evolved, right? You're evolving into this other kind of OT that you're kind of longing to be more right now, right? And, one thing that I also remind OTs is that our longings also shift, right? Like, this is where we might want to go this time. And, and another beauty of our profession is we can kind of just follow our intuition and go with that. So congrats again for finding your formula, right? It's not easy to be able to figure it out and how to make both, both work. So it's so great that you've been able to do that. Can you share with our listeners how did you get there? How did you make this happen?
So that's kind of that's why I always feel like there are the conventional paths to do things that we sometimes are always pressured or we feel the expectation to follow, right? Like, I was supposed to be a pediatrician or a surgeon. And I was getting pushed in that way. I'm the eldest of 4 siblings. I was kind of headed down the path of my grandfather on my mom's side. But I went on a medical mission. I came back. I went on a medical mission to the Philippines that I applied for. And I assisted with cataract surgeries and tumor resections and delivering babies. And it wasn't fulfilling to me as much as the recovery room. And so I had to go on a medical mission, all the way across to the homeland to figure out that the trajectory I was on was not the right trajectory for me.
Okay.
I'm not going to be that kind of doctor, but I'm going to be another kind of health professional that fits my personality more, which led me to rehab, which led me to physical therapy, which led me to occupational therapy. And I think that's the way dance has been also. So, I grew up learning it in the neighborhoods. Then I created Kaba Modern, when I was a freshman. And then I was looking for more community work. So I auditioned for what was known as the Nike hip hop dance troupe, because they're the dance troupe that did all the education and outreach through hip hop for Nike, called Culture Shock. And because I love their mission, they really believe in promoting self-worth, respect, and dignity for all people. And so I ended up becoming executive director of Culture Shock LA after OT school and after my first couple of years as an OT in 2003. And in Culture Shock LA, that's where I learned not only how to direct a dance company, but how to launch after school programs and how to create youth programs and how to apply for grants and whatnot. So I spent a lot of years, from 2003 to 2010, just building the infrastructure of Culture Shock LA and really making it like the hub of utilizing, hip hop and also funk and street art, dance art forms to uplift, educate, and empower people. Right. But in my district job, I started hearing stories from parents about how their children, most of the children being neurodivergent children, kids with autism and all different kinds of levels, that they were getting turned away from dance studios because, they learned differently or they were scared of them and obviously as private business owners, they could do whatever they want, but poor kids, right? Yeah. They want to dance. They deserve those social skills and experience to connect and, and tell their stories, right? Yes. So I brought it back. It's kind of crazy how you create something for Culture Shock LA. And then, I transitioned to board president of Culture Shock LA. And then I trained a whole new executive director, but our after school programs and grants had grown so much that they were looking for new programs. And so I pitched a dance therapy program for kids with special needs, most of them being neurodivergent children. And they said, absolutely, yes. And so Culture Shock has like Future Shock, which is the teenage, and then Mighty Shock are the like kind of middle elementary. And then the youngins 7 and under are Mini Shock. Oh, how cute. I created this group of elementary school at one of my school sites. I offered it to the principal. Hey, after school hours, would you be open to have a free grant-funded dance program at the site specifically for the kids in the special day classes? And they said yes. And so we tried it with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders, and it was a hit. Yeah, it was a hit.
Fantastic. Was it helpful that you were an OT when you were presenting this program?
Absolutely, because teaching just another dance program would be fine, but it's much more safe for the parents to trust if we're providing a program that not only is about movement, but it's about social skills, motor development, sensory processing, right? And we can use that terminology to really describe the benefits and the byproducts of doing this program. And also it's different than just a dance program. It's a dance therapy program because we're blending dance education with occupational therapy and calling it true. That's what I could think is true dance therapy. Yes. Because I think dance therapy gets thrown around a lot, just by different professionals, but there needs to be the therapeutic process in it to really be true therapy, right?
Yeah. And I'm, just thinking goals, right? Like there's goals, there's an end goal.
Goals, measurable outcomes. Even just thinking as an occupational therapist too, we also look at the whole, the whole picture of the whole psychosocial picture of, not just the child, but, what does their family life look like? What does school life look like, right? How does that fit into their psychosocial experience?
Yes.
In addition to the motor and sensory physical aspects.
Yes.
And so we're like the perfect people to do this kind of work. And there are a lot of dancers over the years as they discover occupational therapy. It's trending, like a lot of artists are drawn to occupational therapy, but that's no surprise since we know it has roots in the arts and craft movement and, it was built from artists. So
yes, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I also, I believe that there are going to be dancers out there listening to this, OTs perhaps, or pre-OT dancers who will be so inspired by your words and what you're sharing. I love what you've built out there in the community. It sounds so organized and so structured. Like I have you presented this at the conference, at the AOT conference?
Not yet, but I piloted this program in 2014, and so I've been doing it every year since. But then I got approached by an OTD student, Nina Encino, and so she asked me if she could add, her OTD expertise to my program and outcome measures and kind of get it ready for presentation, basically. And so we just finished. She's about to graduate. She did such an amazing job with her OTD, capstone project. And so we're planning, her and I, to present together. Hopefully AOTA will want to hear something like this, but we want to do it with the intention that maybe it'll inspire other artists, not that they could do something like this in their communities. Maybe with this framework and this, this idea, this concept, So.
No doubt. That's super exciting news. I'm so happy that that's in the works.
It's been a while since I presented at AOTA too. So it's like I'm kind of ready to be back, because it's been a while.
And this is such, again, bridging your purposeful work with your OT work, right? And you've got data to support it. You've got years already where you've been developing this program. So it's at a nice, ripe moment to present it to the world. And gosh, this is going to be so amazing. So thank you for sharing with us a little bit about your path. Can you next share with us maybe describe a little bit how some of these workshops work and, how does it start? How do you recruit? Kind of like the assessment portion, the, goal setting portion and the activities that you guys do.
So the struggle of every year is you have to forecast like the funding a year ahead, right? So the process starts a year ahead with communicating with Culture Shock LA on what the grant funding looks like. How many programs can we do, because there have been years we've just done one, and then I have to choose, all right, at my school site between 1st to 5th grade, which grades am I going to focus on?
Yes.
Right? Because everyone wants it.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was I started with kindergarten 1st graders. And the next year I'm like, well, let's continue working with them. 1st, 2nd. Getting older, let's do 2nd, 3rd. And then, we went up to 5th grade. But one year we got a lot of funding. So we ended up doing, K1, 2, and 3, 4, 5 at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So I had to get, I had to do both and time it with my work schedule and also make sure I have two. Usually I have a pre-OT student with me that is a kind of my extra hands,
So, oh, wow. Well, you can count on me as extra hands. I live near you, and I don't just want to witness all of this fly on the wall. And do some dancing too.
Yes, it's so fun. But the general structure is once we get the funding, then the applications to all the parents are sent out in their backpacks to the kids. So if it's first, second, it'll go to all the first and second graders in the special day classes at this school site, Lowell, and once we get them back, then we have a needs assessment. So we focusing on those three areas, basically, motor planning and motor execution, sensory processing, and social skills. So we can kind of get a sense for what the parents are concerned about. What are the strengths of the kids? Most of these kids I already know, but some of them I don't, because it's open to all the special day class kids. So some of them they might just be speech kids, or they might be kids that don't get OT. So I still need to get to know them,
Okay, got it.
And I have all their IEPs. So we look over the IEPs as well to see how we can line up our program with supporting their progression towards their IEP goals.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So everything's kind of aligned, but we really make sure that it's, that the parents feel like we're hearing, what their concerns are, so that everything's tailored to who the kids are and who the families are.
Okay.
And then the actual sessions, because they're usually 10-week sessions, there are progressions. So we usually will pick 2 different art forms. Most often it's locking and hip hop, because those are my favorite. And
how cute must be all these kindergartners popping, locking.
Yeah, right.
That's why I want to be a fly on the wall.
Because different dance art forms kind of evoke a different feeling, because they're all born, from specific people during specific times. And some of these art forms were born out of social injustice, or, as a way to kind of heal and uplift people. And then there are other art forms like locking that are celebratory and about connection and social interaction.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. So the cool thing as a dancer is I can also select, based on who the kids are, which art forms I think will serve them best. Right.
Spoken like a true OT, Arnel.
So usually it's locking, because locking is a soul dance that involves interaction. And so that really lends itself well to building social skills.
Oh, I love that.
And then hip hop has a lot of repetitive big movement, and it has a groove to it that a lot of kids can really latch onto, and the music too, is very contagious. So I'll usually do hip hop for sure. So once we establish the art forms, we create a dance sequence that builds upon. Every 2 weeks, we're adding on a new aspect to it, and it just grows and grows and grows, so that by the 10th week they have a full routine that they can perform for the school and for their parents.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
So
it's really fun.
How long are you together every week? Is it like an hour program? How long is the...
Yeah, because normal workshops these days in the studios are about an hour and a half sometimes, but we have to keep in mind their attention span and their sensory needs.
Yes.
So our program is 45 minutes.
Okay.
With a natural movement breaks within. So the session always starts with sensory.
Okay.
We get them a lot of vestibular and proprioceptive input. So it starts with an obstacle course. Actually, they'll execute an obstacle course that's super fun, where they get a lot of jumping and climbing, and then once I've given them about 5 to 10 minutes of sensory, then we move into a social skills activity, usually tied to a word of the day. We do affirmations. So every week is a different affirmation, and that also builds every week, where they have a certain list of affirmations that will be part of the final program and a lot of those are taken from the kids themselves. and how they affirm themselves. And that is one of the most hilarious parts because, some of our kids are very transparent. so the things they pick are
no filter.
So fun. Yeah, no filter. So they're always so funny and so beautiful and so pure. I just really love it. And then after they've, now that we're talking about at word of the day, doing social skills, they need another movement break. So we'll do freestyle. And I just would have never imagined that kids with autism love freestyle so much. That's like the favorite thing where they can just wild out and, do whatever they want, which makes sense too, because a lot of these kids have behavior aids and, someone telling them what to do for an entire school day, they probably have time to release, right?
Yes.
Human being, right? And then after the freestyle, now we've given them more sensory experiences because even in the freestyle, we'll make sure they're doing a lot of jumping, a lot of things on the floor, then now they're ready to learn. Their body has already had like 2 sensory experiences. And so they learn the sequence. It's usually like 2 8 counts of dance. And then at the very end, we'll just repeat everything. We'll repeat the affirmation or word of the day. And then that's it for the session.
Oh my gosh. I want to be in a session so badly.
And we
need it.
Positive reinforcers throughout, we usually have a dry erase board and we'll give stars, and every student who has 5 stars or more gets like 1 Skittle at the end of it. It's funny what kids will work for 1 Skittle or 1 gummy bear,
Yeah.
So even throughout the day, we're like, oh, I really love how blah, blah is like, has his face forward and is paying attention. I'm giving you a star. So we're even putting behavioral, techniques into the thing and keeping them on task so they're paying attention. And then they're ending with a positive reinforcement at the end. And all of the snacks or things that we give are things that are provided by the family. So it's all well, like kind of thought out.
Yes. And there's reinforcement and I just love everything that you're building. And what I particularly love is the big smile on your face and the excitement and the passion in your voice when you talk about this work, right? And as you should, because it's incredible what you've designed and how you've structured everything and just what these families are getting out of your program and what you've developed. You mentioned funding earlier, being kind of like either a hit or a miss. So what are some factors that might affect funding aside from the president?
I was going to say, and I hate to be political, but the past couple of years, we were great before that presidency. We had a lot of funding, and during that presidency, who will remain nameless, a lot of funding got cut for the arts,
Yes.
So we luckily through the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, it used to be DARE program back in the day. They were able to sustain our funding so that we can have more. But the year that we had we're able to do 2 programs that year was because of private donors.
Okay. So that's
so that's always a nice thing. Right before pandemic, because my real dream is, while after school programs are absolutely valuable, there's a lot of programming missing in the summer.
Yes.
Yeah, there's really very limited options for our kids with special needs. And so I want to do the same program, but in the summer.
Okay.
That's kind of like a summer camp-ish type of thing. And that will probably have to rely on a lot of private donors.
Yes.
I have one donor or one supporter. Her name is Tamlin Tomita. I'm just going to say her name.
Of course. Let's say it again.
Yes.
We love her.
Tamlin Tomita, we're, famously known from the Karate Kid too. And she's just done so much in the community for the AAPI community. Such a beautiful person. She's half Filipino, half Japanese, and really pours into both communities so much. I kind of recruited her into the board of directors for Culture Shock LA.
Good job.
But the two of us have become really close friends, and she's already agreed to fund the first year of the summer camp. So it's definitely going to happen in 2022 for sure. And then we'll see how it goes, So
so excited for you. This idea, you're making dance programs accessible.
Yes.
As it should be already, right? But you found a need. It's not in your experience, and you see the benefits and the value of it, and you're making it happen. So congrats on that.
Like that pay forward, right? Like, because when I was growing up, my cousins and people in my community, gave me free dance classes, taught me how to dance, and it was out in community. So here I am now full circle at a point where I can garner my different experiences in a way where now I can be that person in the community giving it to these kids who deserve it and need it, So it's like a full circle where things don't always make sense on the road there.
Yes.
But when you hit that acknowledgement of what your purpose is, you can bring in all aspects of yourself to provide something that meets a need that hasn't been met yet in the world.
Yes. And how satisfying that is as a clinician too, right? As a person, as a human.
Yes. And again, it's also really looking at the intersection of our identities, right? Because if I looked at these programs from a purely occupational therapist lens, I wouldn't be able to bring my dance expertise into it. That's kind of needed for this specific program. But also, if I did it just as a dance program, I wouldn't have been able to bring my occupational science into it either.
Yes.
Right.
And your expertise and, years and years of knowledge working with school-based children. I mean, you're the perfect OT/dance educator for this role, right? Are there any, and you may have shared a little bit of this already, but do you have any advice for other OTs, artists, dancers out there, creatives who want to explore the same things that you have, ventured into?
Well, one thing I always say is that each of us are a brilliant mosaic of many extraordinary parts. So our true brilliance and our best purpose projects are when we bring all of who we are into the mix, And so I do this in my leadership program because I teach an international leadership program too for dance leaders. And the whole program starts with writing a mission statement. And, most organizations, at least good ones, have a mission statement, because the mission statement is really like almost that moral compass that keeps you on the same page in terms of identity, service to the world, who you serve, and the values that tie it all together. Yes. And you get all of that in a really good mission statement for an organization. So I kind of, maybe about 5 years ago, thought about, wouldn't it be great for people to start writing personal mission statements? Mm-hmm. Right? Where you write it for who you are, who you serve, what you do, and you can say, what your values and purpose are values and purpose, is, in the statement. I recommend that for anyone that is kind of at a crossroads, or even just at a contemplative mode of I wonder what else, start writing a personal mission statement will kind of allow you to go through the process of really checking in with yourself. Yes. And I have a way of doing it. I've kind of developed a way of doing it for people. So now I've kind of been doing that a lot for friends and colleagues and in this leadership program. So once that is done, then you can see if the choices you're making with your career are reflective of your mission.
Yes.
And if it isn't, maybe you can kind of change the combination of what you're committed to better reflect your purpose. Right?
Yes. So it's really being purpose driven and being clear on that, right?
Yeah.
I feel mission statements also need to be very simple and just straight to the point. So I want to ask you, because I read your mission statement and I absolutely love it. Would you like to share your mission statement with our listeners so that they can get a, firsthand example of what it is that you're talking about?
Oh my God. It's so funny because I actually don't even have it memorized. Do you have it in front of you by chance?
I do.
Okay, you can recite it because I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, I can read it. I can read it for you.
Okay.
Arnel's mission statement. I'm a compassionate and community-minded educator, artist, and health professional dedicated to cultivating safe and supportive shared spaces where people from all walks of life feel empowered to reach their highest level of meaningful growth and fulfillment. I offer personalized and professional dance education, leadership programs, and occupational therapy services to all I serve.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And it's like every choice of word, just like I could have said all my identities without the compassionate in there, but it's the words that you choose that kind of color who you are as a human being doing purposeful work, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, my first version of that was very plain, and I liked it because I was like, oh, it's very functional. But I had to add certain words in there to make it more me, personal and more human. And so in making those choices and choosing certain words, it really allowed me to check in with myself. And now I have a compass that kind of guides me. And when I look at that mission statement and I'm like, that doesn't sound like me, like I'm going through another shift in life, then that's when the recalibration starts again, where I have to rewrite my mission statement. And then I need to look at my life and be like, oh, is it time to maybe change this or do a little bit more of that? Or I need to learn this because my heart and soul believes this new mission statement,
Yes.
So that's kind of what I recommend most, is for people to spend time, checking in with yourself, just writing it down, or however best serves you, so that you have kind of a compass as you journey through life,
Yes. Well, thank you for that amazing advice. Your mission statement completely defines you and everything that you've talked about today. Also knowing a little bit about your roots and being from the same culture, I completely understand how we cannot separate that from, who we are. And I myself incorporate a lot of my culture into my work. It oozes out of my jokes, everything. Yeah. But it's a part of us. And I think there comes a point as OTs where we're able to take all those little parts of us comfortably and blend them all together. And I so congratulate you on really pulling into or leaning into all of your skills, right? All of your strengths, your school-based OT strength, your dance skills, right? Like your personality, your compassion, you're leaning into all of that. And then you're putting that out into the world. So congratulations, Arnel. I'm so proud to call you my kababayan, which means my someone who's from what would be the translation?
Fellow countryman.
Fellow countryman.
Person. Yeah.
Yes. A fellow OT, a fellow uncommon OT, and just a fellow human being.
Well, I'm proud of you too, because I feel like creating safe spaces where you can share stories, of OTs out there, is only gonna grow and better our field, because it better exposes how much diversity there is in occupational therapy brilliance out there, right?
Absolutely.
So many offerings. And I really feel like the more people know about what we do, the more people will not only enter our career, but expand our career.
Absolutely.
Right? Expand our profession. So I know there's like more OT schools now too. So
hundreds,
right? We don't need a bunch of OTs coming in doing the same thing. We need actually a bunch of OTs doing all the hard work that is needed to kind of heal this country, this world, right?
I couldn't agree more. And this idea of bringing it into after school programs, right? I mean, there's a ton of school-based OTs out there. There's so many schools out there and so many kids who like to dance, or in fact, so many kids who don't have accessible places to dance.
Yes.
So these spaces are in need and need to be created. So thank you for pioneering all of that and getting us started. We didn't get to talk too much about Kaba Modern or Culture Shock, and, you know, because you're working with so many different dance organizations. But is there anything else that you'd like to share about that part of your work with our listeners today?
I'll just briefly share on each of them. Like Kaba Modern, I'm really proud of because next year we'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary.
Woo! Congrats!
Decades. Yeah, and you know, I'm really proud of Kaba Modern's what it's achieved in those 30 years. Just good humans who want to, expand the visibility of people from our community. So really proud of Kaba Modern. Culture Shock LA is continuing to expand. It's a nonprofit. So, you can find Culture Shock at cultureshocklA.dance.org. And making a tax deductible donation. I promise you the hard work that we do all over Southern California it's a worthwhile donation. And I think Culture Shock will always be a big part of my life no matter what, because it's definitely aligned with everything I am, for sure. And Kinjaz, I just want to share, Kinjaz just released their collaboration with Tinker Hatfield, who is the guy in Nike who created almost all the big like Air Jordans, Huaraches, and all of that. So we've collaborated with Tinker Hatfield to release the first Nike dance shoe.
Ooh.
Called the Air Sesh or Air Session. Yeah. So super proud of, Kinjaz as well, using its visibility to kind of push the boundaries of what dance could be. Dance as an art and dance as a sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also extremely proud of Kinjaz as well. And you can find all three dance organizations on Instagram, or just check out my Instagram, just Arnel Calvario.
And we'll have everything listed on our show notes too. Yeah. But you're a driving force of all of those organizations. So I credit you to their success, and again, coupled with your passion, it's bound to succeed. So congrats again, Arnel.
Thank you so much for having me and spending this time, and for all you do too.
And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Uncommon OT series. Connect with me at www.transitionsot.com. And don't forget to sign up to be part of the Transitions OT community. By doing so, you'll receive my latest compiled list of uncommon OT practice settings, the latest news on mentoring offerings, uncommon OT live events, non-traditional OT resources, and more. You may also follow me on my social media pages on Instagram and LinkedIn. And if you love this episode, head on over to Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, and Google Podcasts to follow, rate, and leave a review. I also ask you to consider pledging your support to my Passion Podcast project by being a patron on Patreon. It is very much appreciated. Sending big OT love. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.